Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as I show you how to get your amaryllis bulbs planted. So let's go. Amaryllis are beautiful, especially during the winter months. Typically, people like to have their amaryllis blooming during Christmas time. For me personally, I just like to have amaryllis blooming during the winter months. It doesn't matter if it's during Christmas or even after Christmas. And the reason for that is it's very hard to time it just right. My goal is just to have something pretty blooming during those cold months. Normally, you buy your amaryllis bulbs from a store, or you get them as a gift, or you order them online. And many people treat their amaryllis bulbs as annuals, meaning they just grow them for one season and then they throw them away. Did you know that amaryllis bulbs are perennial? Meaning you can get them to bloom many seasons. It just requires a little bit of work. And my cat, Callie, is here to tell us how we're going to do this. Right, Callie? Please excuse my cats. I have three, and since I'll be doing a lot of videos indoors, the cats may make an appearance in the videos. Anyway, I have amaryllis bulbs that I put for dormancy a number of months ago. They've been dormant in my basement, which stays about 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and they've been down there for about 2 months. You typically want your amaryllis bulbs to be in dormancy somewhere between 8 to 12 weeks. And since they've been down there for about 8 weeks, it is now time to take them out of dormancy and get them planted. So the first thing we're going to do is go down to my basement, and I'm going to show you where I have them stored for dormancy. So here they are. They're in a very cool part of my basement. Even though my basement is heated, there is one section that is closed off, and that is where these bulbs have been sitting. It's nice and cool here, and they have not been growing. And you can see that I have them in a blue crate like this. A lot of times when you store your amaryllis bulbs for dormancy, you can take them out of the pot and clean off the roots, which is what I did, or you can just keep them in their pots. So there are different methods for doing that, and I'll be sure to show you that as the season progresses. But for right now, let's bring these amaryllis bulbs back upstairs where it's a little warmer. Amaryllis bulbs generally bloom anywhere between 6 to 12 weeks. The timing will vary depending on the variety that you're planting. When it comes to planting your amaryllis bulbs, you want to make sure you're picking a pot that has a hole in the bottom of it, because you want the water to drain. You don't want water to be logged into this type of pot. Also, when selecting your pot or your container, you want to make sure that the amaryllis bulb is fit snugly inside of the pot. Believe it or not, amaryllis bulbs do not like a lot of room. They want to be nice and tight inside of their home. So you want to make sure you pick a smaller pot, just with maybe about an inch or two around the amaryllis bulb. And when it comes to your planting medium, you want to make sure that you're not just using regular garden soil or something very heavy. You want to make sure that you pick something that's well draining. So right here, I just have regular potting mix. Right here, I have 6 amaryllis bulbs. I did not buy 6 amaryllis bulbs. A few of them had small babies that came off of them, and I will be planting those as well. The main thing is I'm just going to be feeding the bulbs. I will not be growing them for the purpose of making sure that they have a blossom on them, because they most likely will not bloom this year. But my goal is to feed the bulb, and the bulb should get bigger in size. So I will be planting those in much smaller pots. So what I'm going to do now is take you in for a closer look so that I can show you how much potting mix I'm going to put in this pot, and then the depth that I'm going to plant these amaryllis bulbs. So here's my potting soil, and you can see that it has some of the white perlite in it, and that's really good. That helps the water drain out of the pot. So I'm going to go ahead and take some of it and start putting it in my pot. When it comes to the depth of your amaryllis bulb, the key is you want to make sure you're not planting the bulb too deep. The general rule of thumb is you want the shoulders of the amaryllis bulb to be exposed. And that's about 2/3 of the top of the amaryllis bulb. So right now I can tell you that this is still planted too deep. So we're going to add some more potting mix to this. I'm going to push it down just to get rid of any air pockets. So just by placing this on top of the potting soil, I think that's a good height. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more potting mix around it. And you can see, even though this amaryllis bulb was in dormancy, it still looks nice and green. And that's something I wanted to check for, is make sure that the bulb has not rotted during dormancy and that it's still nice and firm. And as I'm putting the potting mix around the amaryllis bulb, I'm pushing it down. That's very important, because what's going to happen is, as it sends up its leaves, and especially as it sends up those beautiful blossoms, it's going to get top heavy, and you don't want it to fall over. So you want to make sure that it's nice and firm inside the potting soil. When I did put this amaryllis in for dormancy, I also removed a lot of the papery material. That's why it looks nice and clean. But if you had to, you could remove some of the papery material just to clean it up a little bit. Okay, I'd say that's pretty good. And I'm going to add just a very, very small amount of water. And when you're adding your water, you want to do it on the outside of the bulb. You don't want to put any water in the center of the bulb, because that could rot the bulb. And at this point, this pot is done. Although if you wanted to, you could definitely decorate it and put some really pretty things around it. You could put some stones, you could put some moss, whatever, you can be creative and make it look really pretty. Personally, I am just happy with how it is. The next thing we're going to do is put it in a sunny location. Where I'm standing right now, this is the south side of my house, and it gets a lot of sun during the winter months. Last year, this is the exact place where I put all my amaryllis bulbs, and they did really well here. So that's where I'm going to place this one. Now, I will not be watering it anymore. It has enough water for right now. I want to make sure I see some growth happening. Usually the flower buds will appear first, although sometimes the leaves appear. But as long as I see some growth happening coming out of my amaryllis bulb, until then I will wait, and I will just let it do its thing. And also, amaryllis are heavy feeders. So once more growth starts appearing, I can then start giving it some liquid fertilizer about once a week or once every other week. For right now, though, it is good. It is all set. My house generally stays somewhere between 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's a nice, good, warm temperature for these amaryllis bulbs. And for the rest of these bulbs, you can see I have 3 that are on the larger side. So I just need to find some pots, and I will do the same exact thing with these amaryllis bulbs. And then these 2 little babies, these will go in a much smaller pot. And all of these amaryllis bulbs should fit in that location where I have that one bulb placed. So during the winter months, what I'll be doing is just basically making sure that these bulbs don't dry out. And that's the key, is giving them enough water, but not too much water, because too much water can make them rot. And once the blossoms have faded and gone by, then I will deadhead the amaryllis. But you want to make sure that you leave the leaves on there. The leaves help feed the bulbs. They're almost like daffodils. You don't want to cut back those leaves. You want to leave the leaves there, and they photosynthesize and feed the bulbs. And it's basically a whole process of just keeping the bulb alive. During the spring, I will then bring these bulbs outside, and I can either keep them in pots or I can plant them out in my landscape. And it's a whole entire cycle that I'll be happy to show you what I end up doing later in the year. The key is, if you don't have amaryllis, go out and buy some amaryllis, get them planted, and enjoy them for the winter months. And then see if you can keep them over for another year or 2 or 10. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And if you have subscribed to my channel, please share it with a friend or a family member. They might enjoy this content as well. You don't want to miss out on the process for what to do with your amaryllis after it's done blooming. You also don't want to miss out on all the seed starting that's going to be happening very soon. You'll notice behind me, I have a lot of grow lights. I have a lot of work to do this winter, and I can't wait to share it with you. Until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.